Kinyuru, I'm the Director of Research, and I'll be the Master of Ceremony for this opening ceremony. And our time is right to start, so I want to welcome Philip Oyer to offer a prayer so that we can begin. Welcome, Philip.
Thank you very much. Could I request to rise and pray? We are praying. Father, in Jesus' name, we thank you for the gift of this beautiful morning. Father, we want to do the opening session of this conference. We pray that your spirit may guide us, be with all the speakers and all the participants. We pray in Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Our chief guest, Dr. John Wythaka. Welcome to Jomo Kenyatta University. We are very much honored to have you. And our protocols are BC, presented by the Principal Corpus, Professor Duku, DVC RPE, Professor Mary Abukutsa Onyango, and Acting DVC Academic Affairs, Professor Mburu. I take this opportunity to welcome you to this event and call it to order so that we can start off. So at this juncture, I want to welcome the chair of the Conference Organizing Committee to give her brief remarks and invite the Deputy Vice Chancellor, RP, to invite the VC.
Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Ndeda. I'm the conference chair. Our chief guest, Dr. Wythaka. Our Vice Chancellor, ably represented by the Principal Corpus, Professor Tuku, our DVCRP, Professor Abukutsa, Acting DVCAA, DVCs present, principals, deans, and HODs present, invited presenters, exhibitors, our distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
It's my absolute pleasure to welcome you to this conference that we have been planning. And we are honored that you accepted our invitation to attend the conference. This is the 16th edition of the JKUAT Scientific Conference, and we are holding this conference both virtually and physically. The theme of this year's conference is refocusing research, innovation, and entrepreneurship for excellence in higher education in the era of COVID-19. The pandemic, as well as all emerging global issues such as climate change, have significantly shifted how we are focusing our research and the urgency in which we require to find solutions. So for that reason, we saw that this conference will be a platform to engage with researchers in many different ways. So allow me to go through our conference themes. Our platform is the conference website, which is conference.jkuat.ac.ke. And through this platform, you can engage with the different sessions that we have set up for you so that you can listen to the presentations which are being given. Now, we have 100 presentations within this two-day conference, and these presentations are divided in 7 thematic areas. As you can see on our program, the thematic areas for the conference are divided into policy, basic and applied sciences, water, energy and the environment, agricultural sciences, advances in medical and veterinary sciences, engineering, ICT and the built environment, and then African indigenous vegetables. We hope that through these different sections of the program, we will be able to engage with one another, engage with the research which is presented, and thereby be able to create synergies and collaboration, which will help us to solve issues that relate to our environment. Now, as part of our conference, we have invited various speakers. We acknowledge our chief guest. We also acknowledge our keynote speakers. We have 4 keynote speakers: Dr. Rebecca Shali, Professor Ikua, Dr. Omwansa, and Professor Kanoi, who have all offered to give us talks within areas of their specialization, and we really appreciate that. Now, during the pandemic, we realized that in the virtual space, there has been little interaction, one-on-one interaction, and for this reason, we have set up an e-cocktail and networking session, which will allow participants to engage with one another, even beyond the sessions of presentations in the conference. Kindly join us at the e-cocktail session, and you can join also through the conference website, which is conference.jkuat.ac.ke. I wish to acknowledge the sponsors of this conference. I particularly mention the JKUAT management that has worked with us hand in hand in organizing this conference, as well as our other supporters, LabLink Supplies, eWork, Laptop Clinics, JKUAT, Healthy Insect Project, and the Kenya National Innovation Agency. I would like to also specially mention the research project and the research group in the university who are participating, and special mention the Manufacturing Research Chair, SOFD, Prof. Munala's research group, and Professor Ngure's research group, who will be participating in a big way in the conference, and we acknowledge your participation. Let me also recognize our technical team, the organizing committee, who are working in the background right now. And in case there is any issue that you experience, feel free to contact any one of them who are titled Tech, and they will assist you. I acknowledge their work and the duties, what they have undertaken to be able to generate this program, to work hand in hand with the participants, just so that we can get this program moving. In these few remarks, I'm sure you will have a fruitful 2 days. We hope that you will engage with us, engage with one another, so that we can have, we can progress in research, innovation, and entrepreneurship with excellence. Thank you for being here, and we hope that you enjoy the conference. I now invite the DVC RPE, Professor Malaria to make her remarks.
Our chief guest, Dr. John Wythaka, our Vice Chancellor, Professor Victoria Wambui Ngumi, represented by the Principal of the Corpus, Professor Thuku, the Conference Organizing Committee Chair, other keynote speakers, the Director of Research and Innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning.
Morning.
Research Production and Extension Division is one of the divisions within the university, and this conference is actually organized under this division, and with being spearheaded by the Directorate of Research and Innovation. And the Directorate works with a committee, as we have heard, Dr. Ndeda, who has been the chairman of the committee, and this committee has members represented from all colleges within the university. And just to reiterate, the theme of today's conference and tomorrow's conference is refocusing research, innovation, and entrepreneurship for excellence in higher education in the era of COVID-19. This is in line with the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology vision, which is to be a university of global excellence in research, innovation, and entrepreneurship for development. So we are just living our vision through this conference. This conference is one of the key university activities besides graduation and other activities, and it's very important because as a university, we carry out research, we have many researchers, and for us to interact with the public and other researchers, we feel this conference is very important because we need to share what we have so that it can trickle down to the end users. We want to say that the other reason why we have this conference is because we want to change and contribute to the development of not only Kenya, but Africa and the world. And that's why we are looking at areas that resonate well with the Kenya's agenda for development agendas, that is in food security, health, manufacturing, and affordable housing. And if you look at the thematic areas, we have covered those areas adequately. And I want to say that the thematic areas actually synchronize with our colleges. Colleges look at the various aspects, and the researchers, of course, come from those colleges. Now, I want to say that we in this year 2022, we had a very good response in sponsorship, and we do appreciate, like the chairman said, because we cannot do it alone, and we value all our collaborators and sponsors because they say that if you want to go far, you have to work with others. So JKUAT wants to go far, so we are happy that we are working with others. I want also to say that within this conference, we have chosen a few innovations. I want to say at this point that JKUAT actually prides itself with over 50 patented innovations. Maybe we are reaching almost 60, 50 something, but we've just chosen a few that we are sharing online. If you go online, you will see an option of going into the virtual exhibition. And also we have a physical exhibition at the Industrial Park of the university. And if you are interested, if you are around JKUAT or Juja, you are also welcome. The objective also is to interact with the public, to interact with anybody who cares to see what JKUAT is doing. So for me and for the Division of Research, Production and Extension, we are happy that this day has come to fruition after sleepless nights through the conference committee and the directorates that are housed in the Division of Research, Production and Extension. So I want to welcome you to this conference as a division. Of course, the Vice Chancellor will also welcome you as a university, and I'm happy that you've come. Before I call the Vice Chancellor, I want to say that we've taken advantage of the challenge of COVID, so that we actually decided to make this conference be virtual because we shall reach more people. And I think it is something we want to continue with. If in the future we need to have physical, we can have a kind of a combination of physical and virtual. This also helps us, for those who are not able to travel, to be able to share with us and to hear what we have. Now, with those remarks, I wish to take this opportunity to welcome the Vice Chancellor to give her remarks, and welcome our chief guest. And the Vice Chancellor, Professor Victoria Ngumi, is represented by our Principal of College of Physical and Applied Sciences, COPAS, Professor Thuku Diongo. Welcome, Professor Diongo. Thank you very much.
Our DVC, Professor Mary Abukusa, DVC RPE, our DVC Administration and Finance, Professor Ikua, our DVC, Acting DVC, Professor Boro, our Chief Guest, Dr. Wythaka, all protocols observed. I'm here to read the speech of our Vice Chancellor, Professor Victoria Ngumi. During the 16th JKUAT Scientific, Technological, Industrialization Conference and Exhibition, the chief guest, Dr. John Wythaka, member IUCN World Commission on Protected Areas, keynote presenters, deputy vice chancellors present, principals of colleges, campuses, distinguished scholars and researchers, ladies and gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm glad to join you this fine morning as we mark the 16th JKUAT Scientific, Technological, and Industrialization Conference, whose theme is refocusing research, innovation, and entrepreneurship for excellence in higher education in the era of COVID-19. As we continue to keep the COVID-19 virus at bay, it gives me great pleasure to note that this year's edition has gone hybrid, and we have a physical exhibition as part of the conference. I'm also glad that the virtual conference has brought together varied participants, among them academia, government, and industry players from across the globe. Ladies and gentlemen, this conference is an important event in our academic calendar, and it serves as a rich opportunity for researchers and scholars to share their findings with peers and other stakeholders, both nationally and internationally. This indeed epitomizes the JKUAT vision, a university of global excellence in training, research, innovation, and entrepreneurship for development. This being the second time JKUAT is staging the conference virtually. It is gratifying to note that the conference has attracted more than 100 papers, which cover varied thematic areas that include physical, medical, and the social sciences, agriculture, environment, and technology. The papers provide possible solutions to various challenges affecting society, including food security and pure nutrition, climate change, health burdens, processing and manufacturing technologies, policy and governance, applications of information and communication technologies. I'm confident that the solutions provided in the papers will play a key role in enhancing the development agenda of any country, and specifically to Kenya, the attainment of the 4 pillars of development, the Big 4 agenda of affordable housing, access to health, food security, and manufacturing. I implore on you to effectively and efficiently present and interrogate one another's paper. Let us be aware that we are indeed addressing felt needs identified in the society. Keep in mind that each of the papers being presented in this forum is a testimony of the commitment and hard work by the scholars involved, and further serves as important building stones in their academic and professional careers. Distinguished participants, the hosting of an academic forum such as this requires significant human and material input. This includes funds for research and innovation, materials and equipment, infrastructure, and logistics. This calls for significant mobilization through partnerships and collaboration with government agencies, private sector, and development partners. As I conclude, let me wrap up by saying that even as we continue navigating the uncharted territory brought about by the pandemic, we can invigorate research and innovation. We need to innovate, reach out to new partners, re-engage, and build synergies across the board. If we can pull together and generate renewed momentum in the areas identified in the sub-themes of the conference, we can reignite passion and the zeal for research and innovation, hence achieve sustainable development for our countries. Finally, I wish to thank the various parties that have, in one way or another, supported our scientists and researchers, thus making this conference a success. As always, your contributions are highly valued, and we look forward to your continued support as we strive to implement the solutions provided in the conference's papers. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my pleasure to invite our chief guest, Dr. John Wythaka, who is my fellow alumnus and no stranger to JKUAT, to address this congregation and officially open the 16th JKUAT Scientific, Technological, and Industrialization Conference and Exhibitions. Thank you and welcome.
The Vice Chancellor, Professor Victoria Wambui Ngumi, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Chancellors present, Principals present, Deans present, Heads of departments, invited presenters and exhibitors, other participants, staff and students, and not forgetting the conference organizing committee. Ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. I feel extremely privileged to join you today during the opening of the 16th JKUAT Scientific, Technological, and Industrial Conference and Exhibition. I am reliably informed that this is the second time the conference is being held virtually due to the COVID-19 restrictions. I wish to convey my most sincere appreciation to the university for making this conference a reality. The hosting of this annual event is a clear testimony of JKUAT's commitment to create and disseminate knowledge, a key mandate of this institution. May I also add that JKUAT has, for many years, been a pace setter in developing timeless graduates who are equipped with innovative and enterprising skills that are contributing to meeting the demands of a very dynamic world. These well-grounded graduates have been and will continue to be catalysts of change in our country, driving manufacturing, food security, health, research, education, and other sectors of the society. As the world continues with the struggle to contain the spread of the COVID-19 virus, the effects brought about by the pandemic continue to be felt in every aspect of our lives, including within academia and research fields. But all is not gloom, as the effect of the pandemic have made us realize the importance of undertaking cutting-edge research and coming up with novel innovations to support our social, economic, and technological developments. It is indeed timely and fitting to discuss the aspect of research and innovation for sustainable development in the era of COVID-19, as envisioned in this year's conference theme. I'm aware that participants are drawn from within the African region and beyond, a clear indication of the high-level international reputation and recognition the event continues to attain within the academic and industry sectors. I'm alive to the fact that organizing an event of this magnitude and maintaining it on an annual basis is indeed a great challenge. I therefore wish to acknowledge the great efforts by the university management, the conference organizers, and participants for their joint efforts that have made this event a success. I also wish to recognize the remarkable work of the professors, the lecturers, the students, and support staff who have worked over the years and carried out cutting-edge research that will be showcased today and tomorrow. It is through their great and selfless efforts that continues to place JKUAT scientific innovation on the world stage. We hope that each one of them will feel respected, valued, and appreciated. The conference, without doubt, enhances the university's standing as a center of global excellence in research, in training, in innovation and entrepreneurship. By opening new frontiers in scientific and technological knowledge innovations through research, JKUAT is providing us with the means to conserve the quality of our environment, promote agricultural production, improve our health, enhance public safety and security, and manage our natural and energy resources, thus making very significant contribution in modernizing Kenya's economy, improving our competitiveness and productivity, and giving us the means to achieve an even higher standard of living and better quality of life. I was invited as a guest speaker in a recent seminar, and the discourse was quite enlightening and productive, to say the least. From my interactions with the university lecturers, professors, and administrators, I was deeply impressed by the scholarly prowess of the staff. I am proud to say that JKUAT has attracted a highly skilled workforce that is committed to excellence in providing multi-skill knowledge development, pursuing cutting-edge research, and promoting equity, diversity, and inclusivity in the workplace. The university is also putting a lot of effort to turn ideas into innovations that offer solutions that enhance the lives and livelihoods of our people. I wish to encourage researchers to continue to explore and take advantage of useful networks, especially in the private sector, that will facilitate the upscaling and commercialization of research findings. I particularly wish to challenge them to continue to build on the accomplishments they have made so far, which, if properly and carefully harnessed, can strengthen the country's competitiveness in the global race for excellence, particularly in the areas of agriculture, science, and technology. Ladies and gentlemen, for research findings to achieve the desired outcomes, they must be acted upon by the intended end users. Researchers must therefore ensure they work very closely with the relevant public and private sector players so that their findings can be taken up by the government to inform policy aimed at taking our country's socio-economic development forward. From the foregoing, it is evident that the government has a crucial part to play in implementing the outcomes of this conference. It has the responsibility of providing a conducive, efficient, and equitable environment for researchers and innovators to thrive, and more importantly, to create opportunities for commercialization of research. I note with great appreciation that the private sector is an integral part of this conference. Ladies and gentlemen, it is globally known that the private sector is the engine of growth. It is the private sector which turns knowledge into products, services, and technologies that improve health, wellness, and well-being of the people. In other words, it is the main consumer of science and technological innovations, and hence a key ally of research institutions. In developing countries, for example, the private sector generates 90% of jobs, funds 60% of all investments, and provides more than 80% of government revenues. By engaging the private sector, JKUAT recognizes that this sector is critical in transforming scientific and technological knowledge into tradable services and products that also translate into jobs which have additional benefits of lengthening the value chain. The partnership between JKUAT and the private sector must therefore result in making our economy more productive, giving us the means to achieve an even higher standard of living, and producing high, inclusive, and sustainable growth. How do all these efforts support the COVID-19 recovery and economic transformation? According to the 2021 World However, the report notes that with appropriate investment in trade, technology, and training, Kenya will be able to create jobs for people at all skill levels, ensuring that the growth benefits everyone. This conference seeks to understand the reason. This conference should seek to understand the reasons for the slow uptake of science and technology innovation in the country and what needs to be done. To recover fully from the pandemic and to create more jobs over the long term, there is a need to orient policies towards supporting a thriving private sector. This will require creating conditions that, among other measures, reduce barriers to technology adoption and support development of entrepreneurial skills. How will the stakeholders participating in this conference contribute to post-COVID-19 recovery? We will all need to become deliberate in becoming more innovative, where innovative means creating new or significantly improved products or processes and doing business differently. We must create solid and dynamic partnerships where every partner does what one does best while leveraging on each other's strengths. For universities, this may mean continuing to push the frontiers of knowledge, developing and nurturing highly skilled and qualified talents, and working with the private sector to enable faster adoption of existing, new, and emerging technologies in diverse areas. For the business sector, it may mean embracing innovation-based strategies for harnessing the strengths of the available knowledge base and workforce, and finding more innovative ways of developing technologies, products, and services that add value and create high-paying jobs. And for the government, it may mean providing the support and environment in which discovery and innovation will thrive, lowering barriers to trade, improving access to relevant technologies, and updating the regulatory framework to support emerging business models, among others. I have no doubt that in the course of this two-day event, we are going to meet new areas of knowledge, many of which will present great potential for exploitation starting now. I therefore call upon all participants, audience, and everybody listening to interrogate with passion whatever will be tabled by the researchers, with a primary goal of improving on outputs. At all levels, platforms such as this should always encourage healthy academic discourse. As I conclude, may I take this opportunity to offer sincere appreciation for the invitation to preside over this important function. I am confident that through this forum, policymakers, industry, and government will gather useful information on vital areas of cooperation with research stakeholders. The 16th JKUAT conference provides a forum for networking, leveraging and growing the many opportunities that stem from strong, stable, and vibrant science and technological innovations and enterprises. I wish to recognize and thank the university administration for developing an education system that fosters high quality and inclusive lifelong learning that provides a roadmap into a successful future and empowers both staff and students to be creative and productive. It is to the credit of the university administration that JKUAT has continued to produce highly skilled manpower and research output that is contributing to social change and development and bringing about economic, technological, environmental, and socio-cultural transformation in our society. It is to the credit of the university administration that the day for participating in this highly regarded conference has come. It is now my very great pleasure to declare the 16th JKUAT Scientific, Technological, and Industrialization Conference and Exhibitions officially open. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, our chief guest, Dr. John Wythaka, for that great speech for opening our conference. Thank you for recognizing the efforts JKUAT and the strides JKUAT has made in the research and innovation arena. So especially in the era of COVID towards the post-COVID era recovery. Thank you for challenging us to work with everybody, including industry and other stakeholders, to actually be part of the recovery process. And I think we as the JKUAT family, we really take up that challenge. I am very sure we'll occupy the space where JKUAT has been and continue to be in the innovation and research arena for the future.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate. There is a small token of appreciation to be given by the Vice Chancellor to the chief guest. Okay. Professor Mburu, you could come closer there. Chair, you come so. Be fab.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, we really appreciate it. A small token to say, this is what some of the things JKUAT does, some of our innovations and our products.
Thank you.
So welcome so much. And we hope you're going to also tell the world out there about some of the things.
I will be your ambassador.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. And so ladies and gentlemen, we are moving on with the program. And now we want to get into the scientific discourse. And I'll be inviting the chair of the keynote speaker, the chair of the keynote session, Dr. Moses Njire, to take over shortly. But before I get there, members and dear participants, physically and online, the conference is running on the JKUAT conference platform, which is conference.jkuat.ac.ke. The link has been posted on the chat function. That is the landing page. You land there, you can access all the meeting rooms. You can access the virtual exhibition, which is running virtually. And we also have a physical exhibition, which is also running, but it is being streamed in the virtual exhibition space. So even if you're not able to come physically to the physical exhibition at the industrial park, you will enjoy everything that the physical participants are enjoying at the industrial park. And something very important will be happening, or maybe quick one, is that today at 3:45 p.m. Kenya time, there will be a cocktail and a networking session. It will be an e-cocktail. So bring your own cocktail. There's a link you will click. If you go to the program in the conference platform, there's a link at 15:45, the e-cocktail will be open and you'll be able to join. So put in your brief bio and you'll join into the cocktail room and pick a table. Once you pick a table, you'll be able to converse, put on your video, put it on your microphone and converse with the people who are in that table. We have about 15 tables in the cocktail room. So select randomly the table you want to sit in and let's engage. It's an opportunity to network, to create networks, to know one another and to know what they are doing. When you're in one table, the people in the other table will not be hearing what you're saying. So it's actually secluded for you. So if you get bored of one table or you feel you want to jump to another table, you see a name, jump to the other table by just double clicking on the seat that is empty in that table and you join. It will only be for 45 minutes. It's called a Power E-Cocktail. Bring your own cocktail to the room and let us network, ladies and gentlemen. So now, members, I want to hand over the meeting to the chair of the keynote session, Dr. Moses Njire. Dr. Njire, please take over. Dr. Njire?
Thank you so much, Director. Can you hear me? Hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much,
You
Director.
could raise your voice a bit, or your volume. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much. We go to the next session where we are going to have our first keynote speakers, Professor Bernard Kanoi, who is a professor at Ehime University and overseas research at Osaka City University, both in Japan. He's also a visiting biomedical in the Directorate of Grants and Development, Mount Kenya University, Kenya. And it's my pleasure to invite him to give us a topic this morning. Welcome, Professor Kanoi.
Thank you very much. Thank you for, I want to appreciate the organizers for giving me this chance to share with us what we have been working on and also highlight some of the developments that have been achieved during the COVID-19 pandemic that can be key into pushing malaria research to the next level. I'll share my screen shortly to guide us through the presentation. Just want to confirm that you can see my slides.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you, Chair, again for this moment to give me to share with us some of the works I've been working on and also to highlight the recent progress in malaria research. My name is Bernard Kanoi. I am based at Ehime University and also at Mount Kenya University. So, as most of us would know, malaria is a major problem. It's a global health burden, putting about 40% of the global population at risk of getting an infection, and this can progress to getting a clinical disease or even can result to death. In 2 years' time, we observe in the last 1 year or 2 years, we saw that almost 1 million people died with 0.4%, 0.4 million people dying each year due to this disease, meaning that it's a real problem that needs to be addressed in addition to the COVID problem. And most of this burden is in sub-Saharan Africa, where we see 92% of the cases of malaria being based, meaning Kenya and other countries are included in this category. This is a real problem. And most of us, I'm sure, have either had malaria or they know somebody who had been infected or probably have had a child who got sick, and you know how it is. So what has happened in the last few years, and what can we learn from the COVID pandemic, and what can we do to improve and to sustain the control and prevention of malaria? So allow me to quickly share with us some deep science about malaria. Maybe not very deep for some of us. Malaria is caused by Plasmodium, and this parasite has a very complex life cycle, alternating between mosquito and human. So the mosquito, when it's feeding, injects all the sporozoites, what we call this stage that is able to infect human, migrates from the salivary gland of the mosquito and is able to infect and develop within the liver cells, where they, after maybe 7 days, these parasites are released into the bloodstream, and they subsequently infect the red blood cell, where they develop in about 48 hours before they destroy or they rupture the red blood cells. And the cycle continues, where they keep rupturing the red blood cells, infecting more red blood cells. It is during this stage that somebody says that I feel tired, I feel sick, I have fever. This is when the clinical disease is manifested. And this is where most of the people go to the hospital because they feel unwell. And during this cycle, some of the parasites will take a different path, where they form the gametes, or the male and female gametes, which if they are taken up by a feeding mosquito, they are able to develop within the mosquito and be ready to be transmitted to the next person during the feeding. So these are very complex life cycle, and it is one of the key challenges that we face in malaria research. But just to highlight that most of the disease is in children less than 5 years. We see children less than 5 years carrying the major burden. This is in both in regions of high transmission, like in the Lake Victoria region or the coastal region, and also in regions where malaria transmission is quite low. But the burden lies mainly in children less than 5 years. And also we have another category of pregnant women, especially those in their first pregnancies, all in people with immunocompromised, like HIV cases and or those taking immunosuppressive drugs. But the key problem is in children less than 5 years. So what are the ways that we have been, or different groups or governments have been using to control malaria? This has been through vector control and also through chemo prevention, where we take, people take some tablets to protect them from getting the disease. Or in other cases, we have the test and treat, where you go to the hospital, you are tested, if you are positive, you are treated. And in some cases, there's the issue of mass drug administration, where communities are treated to clear all the parasites, those who have clinical disease and those who have the parasites that can be transmitted, not necessarily knowing that they are sick. But there's a problem. In the last few years, we have seen that drug resistance against this parasite is emerging. And one of the key reports we received last year is in our neighboring country here, Uganda, we have the parasites that are resistant to the most, the first line drug, the coartem or artemisinin therapies. If that drug fails, we are not sure where we go next. Can we be able to sustain using other expensive drugs, or are we going to see a resurgence of malaria cases in Africa? And also there's an issue of insecticide resistance for the mosquitoes. So houses are sprayed, but we still see some mosquitoes that are able to survive and develop even with the drugs around them. So this means that we have to develop new methods, or we have to improve what we have. And this is where vaccines comes in. They may be a better option or a viable option to fight this scourge. So using all the methods that I've highlighted before, we have seen a tremendous reduction or great progress in terms of the cases and in terms of deaths that have been associated with the malaria. Like from 2000 to 2020, we see a great reduction from when we could see 1 million deaths per year to seeing only 400 deaths. But 400,000 deaths per year, that's a very huge number, and it must be addressed. Unfortunately, when the COVID came in, we saw a resurgence. We saw an increase in the number of cases. And some simulation studies are suggesting that if we do not put in a lot of efforts, we may see a major increase in the number of cases and the number of deaths arising from malaria infection, suggesting that we have to develop or optimize approaches to reduce this burden. And vaccines cannot be ruled out. Vaccines must be considered as one of the key factors or key interventions that may be important in reducing the burden of malaria. So some more science here. So how can we develop malaria vaccines? So there are 3 stages that scientists have developed over the years that can be targeted as points where we can stop the progression of the disease. As I showed in the previous slide about the life cycle of malaria, we have this stage where the mosquito injects the parasites into the human blood. And these parasites, they develop in the liver. Can we stop this? Is it possible to stop these parasites from infecting and developing in the liver? And if they do so, is it possible for us to stop the parasites from developing or infecting and developing in the red blood cell? And the last stage is it possible for us to stop the gametes from developing in the mosquito. These are the 3 points where scientists have been working on. The first, A and B, they are supposed to protect the person who is vaccinated, but C is supposed to protect against transmission, meaning that even if the mosquitoes pick the parasite from an infected person, the parasite will not be able to develop within the mosquito, meaning that they will not be transmitted to the next person who is bitten by these mosquitoes. And at this moment, there are several vaccines that are in these different stages. And I want to highlight that 2 years ago, or in 2020, WHO approved the first malaria vaccine. This is the RTSS-based vaccine. This vaccine targets this stage before the infection of the liver cells by the mosquito, by the parasites. Unfortunately, although fortunately still, the vaccine has a very low efficacy of about 36% in young children, and also it can protect against severe disease, suggesting that we still have to work hard to develop other interventions or other vaccines that have a better efficacy and can protect more people. But at this moment, we believe that if we combine this vaccine with other interventions, with other control measures, we can drastically or substantially reduce the burden of malaria in Africa. So, but the malaria vaccine studies are very complicated. I've been working on this for several years, but we see there are many challenges that scientists are facing in developing vaccines. One of them is based on the fact that the parasite has a very complex life cycle, very complex, alternating between human and mosquito. And these are very different eco-environments where they are able to survive in high temperatures at 7 degrees in human and very low temperatures in the mosquitoes. And still at the same time, they are able to be infective. So it's still amazing how the parasite is able to maneuver around these different stages. At the same time, the parasite has about 5,000 proteins. Actually, there are more than 5,000. And which of these can be targeted? Do we need target 1? Do we need target 2? Do we need 10? Do we need 100? It's still not clear how we can progress with this. And then there is the issue of discovery platforms. They are diverse. Can we have one platform that can be used in Africa, in Southeast Asia, in Myanmar, in Gabon or other countries, and still be able to come up with the same targets? And also we have the issue of the genetic diversity. The malaria parasite is able to evolve very fast. It is able to release or to apply some proteins that are very polymorphic to survive its development within the human. This is able to either confuse the immune system to be able to get rid of them, or to be able to outmaneuver the immune system. And also at the same time, we see reduced funding. As I showed in the previous slide, we have seen a reduction in the number of cases from 2000 to 2020. But this has also come with some agencies saying that malaria is no longer a big problem. Or even in the last 2 years, we have seen that COVID has taken a huge chunk of the funding. So can we still be able to sustain malaria research with the minimum funding and be able to develop vaccines that can work against the disease? And then so we have a very complicated vaccine development pathway. Maybe also in the next slide, you'll notice that in malaria has taken more than a century for us to be able to get the first vaccine, whereas it has taken just a couple of months to develop a COVID vaccine. Why is it so? And why has this happened? And what can we learn from this? It is clear that the technologies that have been optimized during the COVID research were developed years back, but they have been optimized and they have come to the limelight. Like, for example, the first, what we call the mRNA vaccine. These were developed many years ago, but they did not come to the forefront. But we see that it took just a couple of months for us to have the first COVID vaccine leveraging on this platform, suggesting that it is possible for us to mine from what has been developed over the years and be able to catapult or to push forward discovery studies and develop vaccines against malaria and also other tropical diseases. So we have the RNA vaccine, we have the DNA vaccine, we have the subunit vaccines or the recombinant protein vaccines that are commonly applied. We have the viral vector vaccine and also other approaches that have been used to develop vaccine. So I want to focus a little more on the RNA vaccines that we have seen being at the forefront of the development of COVID vaccines. So last year, a paper was published in Nature partnering journal of vaccines, and it showed us that we can achieve protection of up to 60% when we use mRNA platform, which, I mean, as I mentioned before, it was catapulted on, or as we know, most of us, that it was pushed the forefront by the COVID research. And we saw that just by applying this approach in malaria vaccine, we can see up to 60% protection. Oh, this is an animal model, but it is very promising that we can be able to develop vaccines against malaria, leveraging on this platform. And subsequently, a few months later, another paper was published that showed that one of the other blood stage antigen, this is one of the key proteins that support the development of the parasite in the red blood cells, could also be a key target of vaccine development. And these two major proteins, the first one, this is based on the current molecule that is used for making the WHO approved vaccine, and the RH5. They have showed us that it may be possible with the right molecules to be able to push or to be able to quickly develop vaccines based on the mRNA platform. But one of the key questions that still lingers in malaria is how can we be able to identify the key molecules target on? We know for COVID, it was easy to develop a vaccine, or it was not necessarily easy, but it was quite possible to quickly develop the vaccine because scientists had understood that for the virus to develop within the human, it needs to attach itself to the human cells and at the same time be able to penetrate and develop with the cell. So they knew the molecules that are important for this attachment and invasion, the S protein and also the AC receptors on the human cells. So, but in case of malaria, which molecule should we target? Should we target one? Should we target multiple? So over the last few years, and we have been pushing this in the last 2 years, is to develop approaches that can help us to identify the key molecules that we can focus on to push them to the vaccine pipeline. We have what we call the immunoscreening approach and the reverse vaccinology approach. The immunoscreening approach is where we go to the populations and be able to screen individuals that are infected. We know that in malaria endemic regions, some people develop immunity against malaria, whereas others don't. So we want to identify and know which are the factors or which molecules are the targets of the protective immunity that we see in this population. So if we can be able to identify these molecules, we can be able to leverage on them and optimize them to develop the vaccines or the vaccine targets. On the other side, we can use the reverse vaccinology approach, where we use AI technology or bioinformatics approaches to be able to use the existing databases and information to narrow down on few of these antigens or proteins that we can work on and optimize them to become vaccines. So by doing so, we can follow this, or we normally follow this by doing functional assays, where we look for the ability of this of antibodies against these molecules to stop the invasion of the red bloods of the river cells or the red blood cells, and at the same time understand how do they function, how do they interact, how can we stop that? And if we can be able to identify these, we can be able to use the new technologies to push forward the vaccine research. So So the backbone of this work has been a very innovative platform that is based on the wheat germ cell-free system. This is where we are able to use the embryo of the wheat and then purify the embryo and crush it and use that to make recombinant proteins. So basically what you do here is get the embryo, purify, and mix it with messenger RNA, and then incubate at room temperature. And then the following morning, you have your recombinant proteins that you can use for functional studies, for screening of infected people, and at the same time be able to identify the interaction between different proteins within within the parasite or with the human cells. So using this platform, we have been able to develop or to raise more than 3,000 recombinant proteins that currently we are using to screen and to try to identify which molecules are important for protective immunity in malaria, both for naturally infected people and also for human challenge models where individuals are infected with the parasite. And then we can see which profile do they raise. Can we be able to pick the key proteins that are protecting these people against malaria? Then we have done profiles. We have looked at the profiles of how different individuals are able to respond or are able to we can see, like in this figure here, we were looking at the profile of antibody responses in a population that is infected with malaria. As you can see, every dot represents a protein. And we see that different people have different profiles. And as you can see, there's some individuals that have a very strong immune response. And these individuals, actually, this guy never got a clinical disease, suggesting that they have some kind of protection, which could be leveraged on as a target for protective immunity. And subsequently, what we are doing is to do functional studies. We want to understand how do these antibodies work. As we know about the COVID research, we know that the S protein interacts with the SC receptors on the surface of the radio cells. And in this case, what we observed is that there's a protein called PF gamma, which interacts with another protein called MSP10 on the surface of the red blood cell. And we observed that when these two proteins interact, the parasite is able to infect or invade the red blood cell. At the same time, we saw that if we can stop these two proteins from interacting, we can stop the parasite from infecting the red blood cell, suggesting that if we can understand the mechanism of how the antibodies work, to be easier to induce specific mechanism that can stop the interaction, for example, of these two proteins, and subsequently stop the infection of the red blood cell and cut the progression of the disease. So, so this is what we are trying to build on, because we understand that if we can be able to understand this, to understand how these mechanisms work, how these proteins work, how we can stop them, to be easier for us to be able to develop interventions, vaccines, or small molecules that can stop the interaction of this molecule and subsequently stop the progression of the disease or the infection. So I want to say that in the last 1 or so years, we have seen a quick increase of the potential vaccines, leveraging on what has been learned during the pandemic. And I believe that in the next 1 or so, 2 or so years, we are going to see a major shift in the vaccine platform, in the vaccines that are reaching clinical trials or phase 3 clinical trials, or with very high efficacy based on these platforms. And the last part I want to mention is we have seen that African countries are becoming more proactive in trying to develop platforms that can be key in driving the vaccine research. I think this will be very important for African researchers. As we develop vaccines, we can be able to sustain ourselves by doing the basic research, by doing clinical trials, and doing production here in Africa. And I believe this will change the shift and will not have to be relying on support or help from elsewhere. And as I conclude my presentation, I want to say that malaria mRNA vaccine has showed significant protection, and this is going to be a game changer, especially once we identify the key molecules that are important for functional protection in human. And the focusing of these technologies will definitely accelerate biomedical research in Africa. I want to acknowledge my partners and collaborators at the Hime University and also at the MKU that have made it possible for us to achieve this progress. And I believe that we'll be able to push forward even as we try to get a very effective malaria vaccine. Thank you so much.
So thank you so much, Professor, for our presentation. That is enlightening and some good science work there. And we hope that you're going to get a way to be able to manage this disease. I can see we have some questions for you. I don't know whether you can be able to view the public chat there. Can you?
Yes, I can see.
Yeah, you can start from one Nelson Mugambi. Sometimes back, the government of Kenya did a pilot project of spraying some regions to try suppress malaria. Is it reliable?
Sorry, I can't see the question, but I heard your question. So you could read for me again, please.
Sometimes back, the government of Kenya did a pilot project of spraying some regions to try to suppress malaria. Is it reliable?
Yes, in the last few years, the government, also with the Presidential Malaria Initiative, they have done a great job in terms of spraying. And actually, IRS is very effective in reducing transmission. We have seen that not just in Kenya, but also in other countries, in Uganda, in West Africa countries. We have seen a reduction of transmission once these houses have been sprayed with the IRS. So I think it's a key approach to controlling the disease.
Okay, thank you. There's another question again from the chat. Is there any treatment protocol for pregnant mothers infected by malaria? Did you get the question?
Yeah, I got the question. So yeah. We still have challenges in terms of treatment of pregnant mothers with malaria. What we know for sure is we can do intermittent preventive therapy where we use that old drug called Fansida. It works very well, but still we see it is becoming resistance is there, and also there's some this resistance of the drug, and we don't have a clear protocol for treating pregnant women with our first-line drug. So this is a big challenge, but it has been a discussion, and I believe that something will be developed over that. But still, we need to do trials to confirm the negative effect it may have. But this is quite challenging considering you want to take care of the baby. So I believe that developing a vaccine that can protect the women will be one of the key factors that you have to consider.
Okay, thank you. Then another from Professor Willis Owino. Malaria was endemic in Japan, but was successfully eradicated in the 1960s without any need of vaccines. What is it that they did right to enable them succeed in this eradication? And yet here, 60 years later, in the developing world, this is a major problem.
This is a very good question.
Yes.
And it has kept popping up, not just for Japan, but for other developed countries, or especially in the northern hemisphere. One of the driving force of the malaria transmission is the existence of the Anopheles mosquitoes that are very efficient at transmitting malaria. In Japan, there are many mosquitoes, and they can be annoying, especially in summer. But we don't see the Anopheles type that is able to transmit mosquitoes. This could be a factor. that contributed to the control of the disease. But at the same time, Africa provides, or our sub-Saharan regions provides a very conducive environment for the development of these mosquitoes. Of course, we have also the conditions of the environment that can support the transmission. But at the same time, we still, even in those days in the Japan, let's say, for example, we did not see very high transmission cases as we see in Africa or in Kenya, per se, for example. So I think it's a multifactorial approaches. There are several factors that were important for the eradication of this disease. We see the same thing in China. We see there's a quite reduction of their cases. We see very few reported cases every year compared to the temperate Africa, where temperatures are quite high, tropical Africa, where we see temperatures are quite high, supporting the survival or development of these anopheles mosquitoes. So I think mosquitoes is a factor, yeah.
Okay, thank you. From Bindio, with a general reduction in malaria, are you seeing an increase in other mosquito-related diseases? For example, the recent yellow fever outbreak.
One of the quite interesting things we are observing is, we know that falciparum is a major parasite that causes malaria, but we have seen a shift where we have falciparum reducing, we see an increase of other species that cause malaria. So this is still a major concern. So, like, for example, we did some studies a few years ago, and we saw before we did a community treatment of everybody with anti-malaria, we were seeing 1% cases of other non-falciparum species. But after 6 months, we saw up to 10% increase in the number of non-falciparum species, suggesting that if we reduce falciparum, we may be able to see an increase in other species or in other parasites coming on board. So what does it mean? It means that we have to be careful as we tackle the issue of malaria, to be sure that we can still sustain, or we can still take care that we don't have an increase of other species coming on board. So I think this is a key question that, and I know several groups that are working on this to see how we can balance the two, even as we move forward.
Okay, thank you for that. A very interesting question again here. Is there a relationship between blood group types and susceptibility to malaria? I think this is being informed by that if you are in a room, 10 of you or 10 of us, some people will be really, get those bites, but others, nothing. So is there any relationship?
That's a very good question. And also goes back, is there any relationship between behavior and blood group? Yeah, because we know that our behaviors influence our risks of getting exposed to malaria. So that question, I'll not definitely say yes or no. Maybe we can have one of the young scientists around looking at that.
Okay, thank you. From Lucy Murungi, in your opinion, should the greatest focus then be on the vector rather than on the parasite, because of its complex nature, which you have outlined in your presentation?
I think the parasite it's very complex. It's quite a small being, but very complex. How does it survive in the vector and at the same time survive in the host? So I would say we should take a multi approach. We should have an approach that targets both the vector and in the human. We cannot say that one is more than the other. We need both. We need both. That's why in terms of vaccines, we are looking at the vaccines that work both in the human and the vaccine that will work in the mosquito, meaning that we have somebody get vaccinated, but the vaccine will not protect them from the disease, but it will protect the mosquito from getting infected by stopping the gametes from developing in the mosquito. So the antibodies will not function in the person, but the antibodies will function in the mosquito, meaning that we should be able to target both human and the vector.
Okay. Thank you, because the questions are very many. This one has elicited a number of questions, which are very good. Okay. We'll kindly request that we are going to send you these questions in the chat. You respond to them for the interest of time, but I'd like to see if there's anyone from the boardroom. Director Kinyoro, any person there with a question to close this session?
Any question? No, Chair.
Okay, so thank you so much, Professor Kanoi, for your presentation. And we look forward to future networking and more talks on this, because it's a main problem in our country and our region, and we hope to find a solution in the very near future. Thank you so much. Back to you, Director.
Thank you so much.
Karibu.
Okay, thank you so much, Chair, and thank you so much, Professor Kanoi, for that great work and starting us on a very, very high note. We look forward to more engagement. So that brings us to the end of the opening ceremony and the keynote presentation. So now, members, we will proceed to the break. We'll take a short break, and then at 10:40 we'll open the breakout rooms. So kindly pick the breakout room that you want to join. We have 7 sessions coming. Session 1 on policy, governance, entrepreneurship, business, and economics. Session 2 is on basic and applied sciences. Session 3 is water, energy, environment, and climate change. 4 is agricultural sciences and technologies. 5 is advances in medical and veterinary sciences. 6 is engineering, ICT, built environment, and infrastructure. While 7 is a sponsored session by SOFDI, Sustainable Development Initiative, which works on indigenous vegetables. So to join the session, just click the breakout room you want to join and then proceed. In the meantime, before that, feel free to click on the exhibition and enjoy the online exhibition and the physical exhibition, which will be streamed live shortly. Thank you very much. That brings us to the end of this session. We wish you a great and a fruitful session today and tomorrow. Thank you very much. Okay, so
are we taking a photo?
can log us out. You can.
We take a photo down with the guest.
Yes,
the guest.
Yes, I think
there's a proposal to take a group photo.
Yes.
Unasoma?
Hello. Hello, IT operator. Hello. Hello. Hello, hello. Hello,
Ikubalingi wifi.
hello. Hello. Hello, hello. Hello, I need the link for the breakout group, please.
We'll share them in the next 10 minutes, so kindly be patient. Yeah, they will be open.
Okay,
All the rooms.
this is from World Vegetable Center.
Yes, we'll do that in the next 10 minutes.
Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. I wish to welcome you to this session on agricultural sciences and technologies. My name is Dr. Lucy Kananu Morongi from JKUAT. I wish to request if anyone can hear me. Dr. Mbindio, can you hear me? Anyone who can hear me, please speak up.
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you very much. We are about to start our program, but I would like to know whether the presenter, Phyllis Wagasha, who is the first to present on the effects of Lake Olbolosat sediments application on the productivity of switchard and soil chemical characteristics, is in the room.
Yes, I am.
Phyllis, thank you very much. So you talk about Joanne Oguna. Joanne, are you there? Anyen Ruth? Ruth Anyeni, are you there? Omolo Paul Ochieng? So perhaps we can start with Phyllis. Yes, Steve? Yes? So Phyllis, we're going to start. You can share your screen. On the presentation, you have about 10 minutes to make your presentation, and we shall have 5 minutes of question and answer. Please, I will stop you at the 10 minutes so that we can have a session. So members, you can also write your questions in the chat. And therefore, Phyllis, you can start now.
Dr. Lucy?
Yeah?
Dr. Lucy Kananu, kindly hold. You are in the main room. We need to go to the breakout room. Dr. Lucy Kananu?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, we are still in the main room. We have not broken into the whatever.
Oh, I clicked in the breakout. I don't know.
So we will open all the rooms. Then you'll pick the room that you are chairing. Then go there.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, are you there?
I'm there. My name is Fekadu. I'm from World Vegetable Center, Arusha. So is the breakout group start already? Or? Hello.
The breakout rooms are now open. Kindly join the room that is relevant to you.
I don't see the invitation is like research and innovation. The join invitation I see here, but mine is in indigenous vegetables.
That is room number 7.
Yes.
So if room number 7 is indigenous vegetables, kindly join room number 7.
But
African
I don't see
indigenous
that. I don't see that.
Yeah, number 4.
It is room number 7, African indigenous vegetables.
Ingia hapo sasa.
What's your name, sir? I can assign you to the room.
Sorry, I think that's better because the screen is not showing the room so that individuals can, join. The screen is blank.
What is your name?
So anyone will assign you. Those who cannot be able to join will assign you. So anyone who is not assigned, kindly just let me know, and then I will assign you. Wangia room number 5.
Modani room 2.
Just 1 minute. Wangia.
It would have been better if the rooms had been displayed on the screen for people to join.
The rooms are displayed on the program. The rooms basically match the program. Kindly, the program was shared on the conference page. So the rooms directly match to the program.
Can somebody put me to room 5?
Your name, please?
Kenneth Ngure. I'm actually the first presenter there. Room 5.
Room 5. So, Prof, you are in room 5. Done.
Okay.
Mudoni Mwanzia, I need to join room 2.
Mudoni Mwanzia.
Room 2.
Yes, 1 minute.
Ruth Mora, I need to join room 4.
John Mbaye, room 2.
Livingston Jola, room 1. Livingston, room 1.
Really? So every member participant will have to come here, speak out their room for them to be assigned?
Madam, this technology works in a very interesting way. Once we open the rooms, everybody sees the room and joins the room that they wish.
I didn't see that, and I've been here throughout. I was assigned to a room, and then the session ended and we came back to the main,
I'm the one who closed them. I closed them because there was a bit of a confusion, but now all the rooms are open.
What is your name?
The room you want.
Could you please take Juma Magogo to room 1?
Room 1.
Mama Gogo. Under police and governance.
I need to join room 2, Mudhoni.
Mudhoni who?
Mudhoni Mwanzia, room 2.
Noella Andenye, room 7.
John Mbaye, room 2.
I need to join room 7, please.
The name, please?
Noella Andenye, room 7.
Sorry, who again?
Nelson Mugambi, room 2.
Nelson Mugambi, room 2. So this one, I am doing it now. So that is done. Any other person?
John
Mbaye, room 4.
John Mbaye.
I need to
use the
join room
names.
2.
John
Please
Mbaye,
use
room
the
2.
names. Attention, kindly, we are using the names that that is displayed on your screen. So use the name that displays on your screen for that to easily
Takahara.
locate you. Who?
Yeah, John.
Mudhoni Mwanzia, room 2.
Mudhoni, there's no Mudhoni Mwanzi. Unless you are in a room, I love to look where you are currently. Mudhoni.
Ruth Anyeni,
Those
room
who are
4.
not assigned, you're not there. Sorry?
Ruth Anyeni, room 4.
Ruth, again, there's no Ruth.
John Mbaye.
Anyeni, room 4.
Let me see Mireri. Mireri, yes. Mireri, room 4. So Mireri is done.
John
Noella
Mbaye,
Anyeni, room 7.
Who?
Noella Anyeni, room 4.
Noella, I cannot see that name.
John
And
Mbaye.
Ruth, again, I cannot see that name.
John Mbaye, room 2.
John Mbaye, again. Please use the name that is appearing on your screen because we are using that.
Yes, mine is appearing as Ruth Anyeni.
Ruth, unless you are in another room. Let me find out where you are.
I'm in the main room.
Yeah, wale wako hapa Ruth, haiko, unless you are using a different name.
Veronica Ngunzi, room 3.
Kindly log out and log in again. Veronica?
Ngunzi, room 3.
Again, Veronica, I am not seeing it.
And Edmund Mudigani.
Martha
Sorry?
Mahapila, room 5. Martha Mahapila,
Martha, I have seen.
room 5.
Yes, room 5. That is done. Yes, done. Any other person?
I'm still in the main group. I want to go to room 2.
Peter?
Mudhoni Mwanzia.
Peter Kahara. Water
We don't
and
need to
energy.
make Peter Kahara.
But I
Water,
still
energy,
see myself in
environment.
room 2.
Peter Kahara.
Water,
It's not
energy, and
Peter.
environment.
Walter,
Is
please
this
give two
room
names.
3?
Sorry?
Peter Tumutejeza should be in room 3.
Peter, room 3. Noted. Done. Any other person?
Mudhoni Mwanzia, I still want to join group 2 and I'm still in the main group.
Mudhoni Mwanze, you know I cannot see you. I'm looking at those who are not assigned. We don't have a name like that. Log out and log in again, please.
Oyer,
Yes.
Mwanzia can log out and log in again.
That's what I'm
Like
telling you. To log
finding.
in, log out and log in again, and then we'll assign you.
Okay.
Any other person?
Edmund.
Stanley Kamau, room 6.
Hello.
Edmund Mudigani.
Yes.
Which room?
The built environment.
Built environment.
I don't know, it was 7 or.
Okay. That is
Hello.
room 6. Done.
Felix Lagat. 6.
Felix Rotiche.
Yes.
Which room?
I haven't joined any room.
Which
Allocate
room
me.
do you want to go to?
Room 6.
Sorted. Any other person? Kindly indicate
Stanley
which room.
Kamau, room 6.
Stanley Kamau. Stanley Kamau, I'm not seeing that name for those that are not assigned. We have 14 who are not assigned, so Stanley is not one of them.
Unless I was assigned to a room which I didn't choose.
Yeah, that's what I'm suspecting. Check where you are currently is. You can exit the room and go to the room that you want. You are allowed to exit.
You said that John
Right now,
is
I'm in the
nowhere.
main meeting because when I try to leave, it tells me leave meeting, which means I'm not assigned to any.
What
group.
name? What name shows on your screen? Yeah, under which name?
Stanley Kamau.
Stanley Kamau. Hapa sioni Stanley Kamau for those that are not assigned.
John Mbai, has it appeared? John Mbai?
Just 1 minute.
We don't have John By on the waiting list. No.
I'm still on the main window.
Maybe log out and log in again. You probably logged in with a different person's system. Yeah.
Modoni Mwanzi, I have logged out and in. I'm still in the main
Yes,
group.
I've seen you. Where do you want to go, Modoni?
Room 2.
There you go.
Okay.
Anybody else who need a sign?
I'm the chair in group 5 and assigned to group 1.
John By? John By, which room do you want to go to?
John Mbai, I've logged again.
Which room do you want to go to?
Room 2.
There you go.
Okay, thank you.
Stanley Kamau, which room do you want to go to? Stanley Kamau.
Stanley Kamau, I have requested to join room 6.
There you go.
Kennedy Mushiri, you are presenter for which room or which session? Kennedy Mushiri, can you hear me? Johnson, you want to join which room? Johnson, can you hear me? You wish to join which room? Johnson, can you hear me? Which room would you wish to join? Karo, habari gani? What can we do for you? Mugodo. What wrong is this? Caroline Mugodo, can you hear us? Dr. Vusi, which room would you wish to join?
Yes, Prof. Fine, thank you.
At least watu wako kwa room, doc. Hizo zingine tutamanage. Dr. Vusi, which room would you wish to join?
That is so.
Agriculture. Kwa hiyo oh. Started. Caroline mweke wapi? Unajua yuko kwa naongei Mugodo. Joseph Kamau to join room 2. Now Joseph Kamau ni upi? Joseph Kamau to join room.
I don't know whether it is registered as Director IET or something. I don't know. I'm requesting to join room 2 for now.
Director, can you see the breakout rooms?
I am being invited in room 6, but I wanted to join room 2 to start with.
Can you should be able to select which room you want. Ingia room 6 alafu nitakutoa. Just get to room 6, I'll assign you to the proper place.
Room 3.
Au ni wale tumeassign randomly. But simuoni hapa Joseph Kamau ni ipi? Bibi? Wana mtafuta ndio nimweke. Kwa 6, mwambie tu join 6 alafu I'll move it. That's hapa simu. Anne Indeche, where would you want to go? Which room? Correct. Correct is the first one. Willie Tounsi, which room would you want to go to? Or which session would you want to join? Willie Tounsi?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. Which session would you want to join?
I would like to join, I think, session 3.
Session 3, all right.
Thank you.
Sorted. Sasa Kamau ndio simuoni. Sasa unajua hizo ndio challenges. Sasa kumtafuta hapa. Seriously, naanza kutampatia wapi? The only advantage is tumeassign kila mtu. Watu wanasema breakout, acha ni mute.